So there was a lot going after you about politicizing the coronavirus response. Why do you think that you were, kind of their target?
Well, look, this is the silly season of politics, as we say, and I think that there's certainly different reasons. One, because I have been engaged in the coronavirus response, for sure. I think, look, it's just this is politics, and part of being a leader, we understand that we're going to take those arrows. I've been very fortunate to work with an incredible team, Governor Herbert at the lead. Just like President Trump appointed his vice president to handle the coronavirus response at the federal level, I was asked to lead this coronavirus task force. And I think it's important to know what that task force does. That is, we brought all of the experts together to make recommendations to the governor and to legislative leadership on those decisions. I can only imagine what they would have been saying about me if I was campaigning instead of doing my job. But I swore an oath to the people of the state of Utah to serve as their lieutenant governor. Governor Herbert and I are a team, and we will continue to be a team until our term expires at the end of December. And so I gave up my campaign. I literally did not campaign. I even asked people not to donate to my campaign as we worked on this issue around the clock. I mean, we were putting in 16-hour days, 18-hour days, 20-hour days, no sleep for a month and a half. And so there was no politics involved in that decision. Again, I was elected to do this job. I'm going to keep doing this job until the end. It's more important than running for governor. And I'm just so proud of our team. And most importantly, the people of the state of Utah who have stepped up and sacrificed in so many ways, who have given up so much to save the lives, literally save the lives of people here in our state, and I couldn't be more proud of their response.
Not long before we came here to the debate, the president was in the Rose Garden and saying that he wanted states to make sure the National Guard was keeping a foot down on some of these protests that we saw even in Salt Lake City that went from a protest to a riot. Here in Utah, we were just talking a minute ago about the fact that we had Blackhawks or Apaches flying over the city. We had Humvees out. We now have a curfew in the city, and the governor shut down the Capitol for the next week. What's the right balance in making sure that we don't turn into a police state, but we're also keeping Utah businesses and the people of Utah safe?
Sure. So this is a critical time in our country, and there are a lot of people that are angry and rightfully so, and they deserve the right to protest. It's one of the things that makes our country so special. It's founded on this idea that we can stand up to government. That the government doesn't come and power doesn't come from lineage. That it comes from the people, and that we give that power to our elected leaders. And we get to take it back every 2 or 4 or 6 years, and we get to stand up and protest and tell our government when we don't like what's happening, and we respect that right. It's so critical, and again, people should be angry with what they saw and what happened. But what we've also seen are people have hijacked this for their own purposes. As I said earlier, these agents of chaos. That's all they care about is looting, property destruction, overturning cars, lighting them on fire. That's not, we can't stand for that. And so the governor waited until it was absolutely necessary to make that call to bring in the National Guard. I want to commend our police officers, our highway patrol troopers, and our National Guardsmen and women. And let me remind people, the National Guard is not the military. The National Guard, these are your neighbors. These are people who live here and volunteer their time to protect and serve. And so, yes, when we start seeing that there is an element of destruction, and when we're lighting things on fire, when they're throwing rocks and hammers and axes at police officers, and we need some support, that's what the National Guard is there for. It's one of their duties. And so I'm very proud of the way that they handled the situation, that there was very little property damage and no lives were lost, and it was because of their ability to de-escalate and diffuse the situation. And so, we will keep them. We'll make sure that they are on standby. The governor has said that, and we hope we don't have to use them. But if those bad actors come back again to hijack what is a legitimate exercise in protesting, then we will make sure that they are taken care of, so that the real protesters can exercise their constitutional rights.
Let's hear now from Lisa Riley-Roche via Zoom.
Hi, Lieutenant Governor.
Did I hear your dog barking?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Everyone gets to hear my dog bark on Zoom. I'm wondering if you have any second thoughts about serving in the role that you did over the COVID-19 task force, and how would that have looked in a Cox administration if you were governor and this situation arose? Would you take charge of such a situation, task force, or would you give it to your lieutenant governor to handle?
Sure. So first of all, no, I don't have any regrets. And second of all, the question implies something that isn't true. Governor Herbert has been involved and has been the decision maker. He is in charge of the task force. If you look at the way this is laid out, he is in charge of every decision that comes through that. The whole purpose of the task force was just to organize people to give information and make recommendations where necessary. So Governor Herbert has been in charge of this response. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to look up here, not down here. Governor Herbert has been in charge of this response from the very beginning. Make no question about that he is in charge. And again, my role was an organizational role in bringing people together, and I absolutely will do that. Let me tell you something about Senator Deidre Henderson. I can't wait for the lieutenant governor's debates, because she is one of the most brilliant public servants that we have in this state. She served in the role of a state senator for 8 years. She understands policy as well as anyone in this state. She's incredibly eloquent. She's talented. She should be running for governor, to be perfectly honest. I feel so lucky to have her as my running mate, and I would not hesitate to put her in charge of something exactly like this. That's why I ask her to do this job. That's what we need, and having a governor who has served as lieutenant governor. Governor Herbert became the governor in the middle of the Great Recession, unexpectedly. I got the opportunity to serve with him 4 years later when Lieutenant Governor Greg Bell resigned, and it has been the honor of a lifetime, because we are a partnership. We do work together. When there are big decisions or little decisions, we converse. He listens to my input. We lead together. Two is always better than one, and I'm so grateful for those opportunities that I have had, as he has seen in me that ability to lead. It's one of the reasons that he endorsed me. He knows all of the candidates. He loves all of the candidates. They're friends of his, but he knows my leadership capacity, and the opportunities that I have had have prepared me for this moment. And so, yes, on day one, I would give this assignment to then Lieutenant Governor Henderson, because she will be, make no mistake about it, she will be the best lieutenant governor this state has ever had. And I know a little something about lieutenant governors.
We have time for one more question.
Thomas Wright said it would be better to let businesses and the community decide during the initial phase of the pandemic how to respond, who should close, how to be responsible. Would that have worked, or did it need to be more from the top, more strict, and government orders on the county and state level?
Well, Thomas is right in one sense, and that is that business leaders do need to be involved in those decisions, and they were. One of the very first things we did was to stand up an economic recovery task force. We had over 80 industry associations and over 150 business leaders who were involved in putting together the first comprehensive health and economic recovery plan in the United States. They were involved in drafting that plan. They were involved in making those decisions. What people have somehow forgotten over the past 2.5 months is that when this pandemic came out, we did not have testing capacity. That's been discussed ad nauseum. The CDC came up with their own test. The test failed, so we were going blind into the month of March, and that was a huge disservice to everyone in this country. And so we had to make decisions based on a lack of information. Now, of course, with all of the information we have now, it would be very easy to make some decisions that were different. We didn't have that luxury at the time. Also, let me remind you that supply chains were completely broken. We didn't have access to personal protective equipment for our frontline workers. We didn't know, again, because of testing, where the disease was and where it was spreading. And so it was all hands on deck. And yes, these business leaders were involved in those decisions. And in fact, there's been some criticism of that, which is a terrible criticism, because they really did come together with solutions. They helped us get personal protective equipment into the state. They helped us get testing into the state. We've worked very closely with our business leaders. But the role of government in a pandemic like this since the beginning of our country has been that we bring those leaders together and we have to make those decisions. And again, the governor, legislative leadership made those decisions. We called a special session to bring in the legislature to help weigh in on those decisions. We formed an economic and health commission to help make these decisions. There are business leaders serving on that commission, as well as health leaders, public health, those from our hospitals. It's a wonderful collaboration. And again, this is what we do so well in the state of Utah. This is why we have other governors and those at the federal level asking us how we were able to respond in a way that didn't shut everything down and that began to open things up sooner than just about every other state out there. So proud of our response and proud of the business leaders who were part of that response and coming up with the best practices for businesses to follow so that they could open up and still protect the health and safety of the people of the state of Utah. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.